On this episode of Off-Road Outdoors, Lake catches spring turkey on opening day.
Going into this turkey season, things are looking a lot better.
And the Toms are about as excited as he is.
Felt like how turkey season used to be. As soon as we got out there, it was just gobblers hammering off left and right in each direction. It was a good time to be out.
The only question is, how soon can he fill his tag?
Oh, shake it so bad.
Lake and Tanner Streeter are two brothers living opposite sides of the Kansas-Missouri border. However, deeper than state lines are their family roots.
My name's Tanner Streeter. Grew up in the outdoors, hunting and fishing, right alongside of my brother Lake. Our dad got us into it, even before we could walk. He took us out in the woods, took us out fishing. He'd carry us on his shoulders, when we were too small to be able to follow along. So that's just been pretty much my whole life. I've grown up around it.
So I got into hunting, being born into it basically. My dad and my grandfather brought my brothers and I up hunting, and basically since I could walk, my dad would carry us out in the woods with him and sit there and have us watch until we were old enough to hunt ourselves.
So yeah, Lake and I have, we've been hunting and fishing ever since, we can remember basically. So, I remember, me and him, we got our first whitetail deer when he was 9 and I was 10. But before that, we were always going with our dad and going on hunts with him and going on fishing trips with him. And just overall spending a lot of time in nature. Technically been hunting
since probably 2 or 3 years old, being out in the woods hunting with my dad, but I harvested my first buck when I was 8 or 9, I believe. So, and I'm 23 now, so it's been quite a while. So
I would say hunting is really important to me. It's very much a lifestyle. A lot of there's all this culture around it. So for me specifically, growing up with a keen interest in art and that kind of thing, that led me into doing taxidermy full time, and hunting feeds right into that.
So that was what got me into turkey hunting and trying to coyote hunt and hunt anything I could really with my bow and arrow. So, but yeah, ever since then I've just been trying to get better at it and learn more each year and try to fill my tags easier, I guess.
We got a good, feel for what we do when we go hunting. A lot of other people, you gotta figure out what they're about, and sometimes they gotta catch up with you and how you hunt and everything. But me and Lake, we have same hunting style. We pretty much know what we're thinking all the time, and we're pretty in sync that way. So we generally have a pretty good time hunting together. And
I kind of took to deer hunting more, and once I was old enough to start firing a gun, I took my first deer, and then from then got more into archery hunting and kind of started teaching myself how to do that because my family was more into rifle hunting and everything.
Everything about hunting, the conservation aspect of it, the just the way it feeds the economy, and it keeps primarily around wildlife and conservation. It all flows together, and all that is extremely important to me.
As the Ides of April approaches, so does spring turkey season in the Midwest.
I haven't filled my turkey tag in the past 2 years, I think. So my hopes weren't all that high. The turkey population in Kansas has been down the past few years. So
going into this turkey season, things are looking a lot better. The past, half a decade to a decade, the turkey populations in this area, Kansas and Missouri, right in there, they're struggling a lot in a lot of places for various reasons.
Going into the season, like if I can get on any bird, I'll take it, because like last year I got on a bunch of jakes and everything, and I was just being picky, so I didn't fill my tag or nothing. So this year I told myself, if we can get on birds and it's on film and everything, and I'll take it, because yeah, the numbers have been down, and it just hasn't been the same the past few years. So they weren't great going into it, but it turned out a lot better than I expected it to be, so it was really fun.
Both states combined, Missouri and Kansas, have been putting in a lot of efforts to combat the problems that turkeys are facing. So going into the season, I've noticed a lot more turkeys. I've noticed, more hens, more bigger, flocks, lots of poults that I've been noticing from last year's hatch. So I have a lot more, expectation of having better hunts this year and maybe getting a turkey. I buy a tag every year regardless if I get one or not. But yeah, looking forward to, what we can get into in the woods this year, and hopefully have some good interactions with some birds. So.
Oh, make sure my face is awake.
It's opening morning. Lake makes a trek up north into Deep Lynn County, looking to bet on some private farmland for this year's flop.
So Jordan and I just pulled up to my father-in-law's property here in Blue Mound. We're gonna try to get on some birds. I've had them roosted here the past week. They're a little iffy. They like to roost here, or they like to roost across the road. So we're about to step out and see if they're here or if they're across the road, so we can make a move on them. So if we don't make a move on these ones, we're gonna move on to my other property, but we got birds to make a move on. That's the good thing. So we'll be back to you shortly with some action, hopefully. As soon as we got out there, I stepped out of the car and did one hoot owl call, and I don't even think I got all the way through the call before one hammered off right out in front of us, like probably 300 to 400 yards out in the tree line. And then after him, there's another one fired up down the tree line a different way, and then another one the other way. And so right off the bat, we were super stoked and excited, and tried to get right out to him. I didn't know the whole setup like I thought I did. Didn't really have time to roost them like normal, so our setup wasn't as good as it could have been. I'd say we were probably like 200 yards off from the birds. Not what I wanted to be. I wanted to be right on them so we could have them fly down and just get all the video we could of them right off the bat. I didn't have those birds roosted. I knew they were on the property, but I didn't have them roosted. I had like a rough idea, and I had a ground blind setting out there in the tall grass. So we snuck out to it thinking they were going to be roosted in off that field that ground blind was in. We get to that ground blind, and it turns out the birds are about 150 to 200 yards out in front of us through some trees in a different field. So we set up and tried calling to them for a while. Ended up having a coyote move through right in front of us. started working his way towards where the birds were gobbling from, so I figured, well, they're probably not going to want to work their way through a coyote to get to us.
While the birds are active, they stay stubborn in the nearby field. So if the toms aren't willing to come to him, Lake makes the decision that he'll go to them.
We ended up packing up our stuff and crawling up to the tree line and got eyes on the birds. And they were all just pitched out in this cut field, and I'd say that there was probably about 6 or 7 hens and one big old tom that we seen right off the bat, and they were probably only maybe 100 yards from when I first seen them. There was this big strip of trees that was in between us, and there was this little creek running through it. And so we snuck down in that creek and we're trying to get eyes on them and couldn't figure out what they were doing. So we snuck out of it again and kind of snuck in and out of the creek a few different times trying to figure out how we were going to get set up on these birds. And then we finally landed on just getting back down in the creek and trying to call these birds to the fence line. So we got down in the creek and I started calling and was just had my little turkey decoy held up in front of my face and was just hiding behind it. We had a hen lead the pack right up to the tree line and was just looking right over the grass, just staring at us forever. And I thought we were busted and I thought the whole hunt was over, and then she finally worked off and everything settled back down and I was able to sneak up there and we saw that the birds were kind of doing their own thing and working off. I heard some gobbles go off into the corner of the field where the other birds were leaving to. So I got to looking over there and 3 more gobblers were coming out into the field. So we were right back in the game, and this time got my decoy and got up onto that little tree line that the birds were hung up on before, and got my decoy set up there to where those 3 new gobblers could see it. They slowly worked their way towards us, slowly, and were strutting and gobbling and putting on a good show for us the whole time.
I might have brought the hen decoy with us. We'd have got them to come in closer. I think that's why they hung up. They were sitting there just looking for that hen they were hearing. Like, I don't think those ones were old enough to really get too fired up about this guy. That first one that was out here that was with all those hens, he was really big and old. That's why he was with those hens already. And they just walked off straight into the timber. And as soon as they left, those other 3 toms came out. And we called them up halfway across the field, and then they hung up about 60-some yards out, I'd say. And so, but the good news is, like I said, we didn't bump nothing, so hopefully they'll stay here and stay roosted here, and we'll be able to come back hunts this week, make a better setup on them, because we were kind of running in blind this morning. I had a rough idea of where they were going to be, but we didn't know for sure, which is why we got into these crappy situations we did this morning. But we almost made it work.
I think just not having my full setup, all I had was my fanned out Jake decoy. I didn't have my hen or nothing out there, and I think once they got about, I'd say 60 some yards, they were kind of just sitting there looking for a hen and couldn't see nothing, so they just kind of worked their way off, and that was it pretty much for the first morning's hunt. But we were just excited to be on birds and have all the action we had, and I was mainly excited that we didn't bump nothing.
With a promising open to the season, Lake journeys back out to the property that Thursday to see if he'll find the same birds waiting.
So Jordan and I just got out here. We're about to sneak out to where I moved the blind to from the other morning. We were in the wrong spot, unfortunately, but today I think we're gonna be in the right position. It's a little bit windier than I'd like it to be, but I think the birds are still gonna be moving pretty good. It's pretty warm and they've been out here like crazy the past few days, and so I think it's gonna be good. See what happens. Yeah, when we got out there, the wind was just going like crazy, so I knew right off the bat, like, we're probably not going to hear much. So we just started sneaking out from a different position than we did opening day, hoping to get on where these birds were that morning. We get out about like halfway out there, and I can see the birds already up in the top of the tree line roosted still. So I just had us drop down because we were already close to 100 yards or within 100 yards of them almost. So we were just kind of laying there hoping to see where they'd pitch down out of the trees and make some sort of move on them. When I laid down, I popped the 2 little decoys up and I was just hoping they'd see those. Finally, after what felt like forever, we were laying there on our stomachs in the tall, wet grass, but finally pitched down and kind of just worked their way along this tree line in front of us. We snuck back into the trees that were behind us as soon as they hit the ground and snuck around to where we could get a better look at them.
They're all hens up there. Unfortunately, there's like 6 of them. They're all right down in that corner right now. But from what I can tell, it's just all hens. So I guess we're gonna let them be, and we can go check this bean field, see if there's a longbeard out in it or something. Yeah, they're doing what I expected, what I was afraid of. With how windy it is, looks like they're flying straight down and trying to just stick to the timber as much as they can, which is pretty typical, but we might get lucky and see a longbeard out in the field up here, so I'll see.
Turns out they were just a bunch of hens, and so we sat there and watched them for a minute and did some calls and glassed for a little bit and couldn't hear no gobbles and didn't see any other birds really making a move. We just kind of figured with the wind, how it was, we'd call it for that hunt. Well, we got out there and kind of like I expected, everything was real quiet because of the high winds, and we were getting out to the blind just a little bit later than we should have, I guess. We didn't realize the sun was going to be coming up as early as it did, but we still made it out there pretty close and got within 100 yards of the birds that were roosted out there, and it just ended up being a bunch of hens that we could see. So we just ended up leaving them be, and they kind of just instantly worked off into the brush as soon as they flew down. So we're assuming that most of the birds out here on the property right now are just going to be sticking to what little timber there is. So we're just kind of cruising to see if there's any out here, and if not, we'll probably just let them be so we don't bump them off the property.
The other morning when I was out here by myself, and I had that tom really close to me.
Got out and we were going to the same spot that we were for the second day. We took a different route walking in. As soon as we got there, I did a hoot owl call and didn't really hear nothing. And so I did some light, just clucks and some little purrs, and I could have swore I could hear some spitting in the trees behind us, and every time I would do just a light hen call or something. So we were sitting there listening, and I was like, that's got to be spitting. And then, like, not even a minute later, right over our heads, big old gobble just hammered off. He hammered off, and then right after him, like 3 or 4 more gobbles, just boom, boom, boom. So we were like, oh dang. I was like, we're actually in this. We don't just got one on us. So that made it way more exciting. And then we had what I thought was a hen roosted over kind of behind where Jordan was set up, but it turns out it was a Jake. He flew down way earlier than any of the other ones did and was just sitting there. There was a few times I thought he had us made. He was sitting there putting, but thankfully we stayed still enough, I guess, to where he just kind of milled around and did his thing. And after that all calmed down and he was just doing his thing, the other Jakes finally flew down all around him and kind of calmed him down a little bit. But I think they kind of knew something was up, because as soon as they all flew down, they were kind of all watching our setup a little bit, but they weren't really being too spooked. But they ended up just kind of working their way around and went through this little fence line that goes through the property. That's just an old fence that's halfway cut out. They worked their way under that fence and popped out on my side into the cut field, and there were 2 hens that had just popped out of the tree line. As soon as I seen that, I was like, oh crap, like it's over. And that's what it was looking like too. They came out and they started just going towards those hens and followed them for a little bit. And as soon as they got far enough away to where I knew I could get away with a little bit more movement, I waited till they were all facing away, and I jumped down on my belly real quick and crawled out to my decoy bag, because, well, I didn't have my thunder chicken decoy set up because I didn't think I'd need it. But as soon as I got down to that bag and got that decoy out and put it up over my head, those Jakes turned their heads and seen it, and they all turned their direction and started slowly making their way towards us. The hens kind of caught up with them and got out in front of them and made it to my decoy setup first. We're just checking everything out, and I was just laying there on my belly behind, holding my decoy up. I had my crossbow in one hand, and I didn't even have it shouldered or nothing, so I was just sitting there thinking the whole time, like, this isn't even going to work. I don't know how this is how I'm going to pull this off. And I was just waiting and waiting for him to get close enough. The hens got there first and were like 10 to 15 yards out in front of me, and were kind of working their way off to the side of me, and I could see them out of the corner of my eye. And as soon as I seen that the hens were about to make their way past my setup, I kind of just let go of the decoy, shouldered the crossbow real quick, and got on what I thought was the closest Jake to me, and split my 2 top pins and just squeezed the trigger off. It smoked him. As soon as it hit him, I knew like he was done. How it all played out, I didn't know, because it was kind of a sketchy setup. We couldn't really communicate well with how far away we were with each other and everything.
I was gonna make that work. Holy smokes. Oh, I shake it so bad. That's just a jake. That's the first jake I've ever shot, to be real. Jeez. That was fun. Holy crap. I knew if I got that thunder chicken out, I left it out. I left it in the bag this morning because the past few mornings we've been out here and we've been getting on smart toms that see that and they're just like acting like they don't want nothing with it. So I left it in the bag this morning thinking all these gobblers were toms, and they flew down, they were jakes, and I've been saying from the beginning, if we get a jake on camera, I'll shoot it. So as soon as I seen them, I was like, if I get the thunder chicken out, they'll come right into that. And so that's what I did. I army crawled up to the bag because it was out in front of me a few yards, and I got that sucker out and popped it up, and sure enough, them and the 2 hens came working over here, and I don't even know how close they were when I shot. It was so hard to tell. I was sitting there the whole time like, should I try now? Should I try now? Should I try now? And I was like, I'll just keep letting them get closer and closer. I was letting them get as close as they get. And then once I seen that one with a beard get out to the side of me, I was like, okay, I should try now. And I'm just glad one of them at least stayed still long enough for me to line up a shot, because like I had my shoulder like way down there. I could like barely see through the scope. And I guess I smoked them. Crossbow did a number on it. Oh, cool. I used the lighted knock too. Hopefully you can see that in the film. I forgot I had a lighted knock on it. When I first aimed in for a second, there were two of them, I think, that were like still in like half strut, or not full strut. And as soon as I aimed down, I was like right on one's head, and I almost just was gonna try to go for a headshot just for the video's sake, but I was like, nah, I don't want to mess it up. Yeah, I freaking blew right through his wing. This is my first jake out of all my years of turkey hunting. He's got little nubbins already coming in on his spurs. Beautiful. Good old Kansas jake. I haven't killed a turkey in like, what was it, almost 2 or 3 years, something like that. This was freaking fun.
As far as my turkey hunts have gone, it's definitely now up there with one of my tops, just because anytime I can get a turkey harvested from behind the decoy, and especially with a bow.
We got the Boyd. See it.
That just makes it way better, and it's always more fun being down there on the ground, up close and personal with the birds, and just being able to get it on film and be out there with your buddies is always a plus. So it was just a really fun hunt, and can't wait to get more of them on video.